welcome to a fresh episode of Platypod Perspectives, where each episode we look at an amazing image from an incredible photographer like this one. This is a fantastic product shot. You've got all kinds of things going on here, reflections and lighting and beautiful set and columns. And then we talk to the artist who created this amazing image. And this time around, it's our good friend Shiv. Hey, Shiv, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me on. It's been a while. I know that we've been trying to get this done, but at last and eventually we're here.
Yes, we did get to make it together. So thanks again for that. And this image, I've seen it before, and I've seen the behind the scenes because Platypod followers who really subscribe to the e-newsletter, which you should, and people that follow us by reading along on the blog. You're going to find lots of great training. And Shiv, you actually went into this on the blog at one point, didn't you?
I believe so, yes. And it was a while back. So it's interesting that, we brought this back into what I call a reincarnation again. And that's so much fun because it gives one an opportunity to relive that experience, which was really interesting. Trying to incorporate different light setups and different props, and made the whole thing very interesting originally. But when it comes back to life, it becomes even more interesting.
I agree. Now let's look at the image and then kind of unpack a little bit about how you did this setup, which camera settings you used. I mean, I want to help our photographer enthusiast friends really understand how could they recreate something like this.
Okay, so I mean the whole point here is to make sure that we get the bottle and its liquid really show up. It's a very light colored liquid, and the bottle is also completely transparent. So the idea was, how can one get the outline of the glass to really show? And there are various ways of doing this. I mean, you can do bright field photography, you can do dark field photography, and every one of those systems would work. But then the problem comes up is how do you control those lighting effects without doing too much, compositing, etc., to try and accomplish this whole thing in a single shot. So the idea was, let's start with the background. So I used a scrim and put a Panel Pro, a LumaCube Panel Pro at the back, slightly offset to the lower portion of the image. And you can see a very, very slight hotspot, which I kind of liked because it kind of radiates outwards. So the gradient that it created because of the light fall off really helped emphasize the cap of the bottle, which is completely white. So that offset was the starting point. The bottle, of course, is on a prop, and then the two columns are really nothing more than corrugated white paper. A little bit of the yellow tone is coming from the light in the background, which is, set to a warmer temperature. And that's the nice thing about these Panel Pro lights is that you can, adjust the temperature to whatever you want. And then the idea was to get the two columns evenly lit, but create enough of a light falling onto the front of the bottle. So I tried it with, using a single light, but that didn't quite work because, it always ends up, because of fall off, one column becoming darker than the other. So two Panel Pros in the front were a perfect solution. And that's really what the setup is. Now, what you don't see is that the two columns are in fact supported on either side with white shelving that I picked up from IKEA. They make for some great props and stands and things like that. So there are two IKEA wall shelves on either side with, just providing the kind of support to the corrugated paper, which otherwise would, tend to fall or blow off or whatever. So that's basically what the setup was. 70 millimeter lens, just to manage the depth of field. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was either f13 or may even have been f14, and that's it. I mean, it was constant light, no flash, nothing too fancy, but achieved the effect I was looking for.
Well, with respect to the effect you were looking for, everything looks so perfect. And I'm curious, did you have to do any touch-up? Were there any unwanted reflections that showed up? Did you have to do any kind of touch-up in Photoshop or Lightroom after the fact?
To be honest with you, yes, a little bit of a fingerprint that ended up on the bottle had to be cleaned out. But apart from that, no.
Okay,
That's the problem with glass. You touch it and you leave an impression, and that will show up. But yeah, that was just, I think it was a thumbprint, not a fingerprint.
Okay. Okay. Now we have the great behind the scenes shots from you, so thank you for that. How long did it take you to get the exact look you were going for?
I'd say about an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay, so that takes some patience to be able to do that. And was there anything that was, a goal that was frustrating and you couldn't figure it out, and then all of a sudden you had an aha moment, or was it just a slow evolution of piece by piece by piece pulling it all together?
I think the most frustrating part was to get the warm tones correct in the background. I think that's what really frustrated me, because you try it and then you basically got to make sure that your white balance is going to be okay for both the columns as well as the background, and that nothing is going to get too yellow and nothing is going to start looking muddy. So yeah, that's really where most of the time went, is to get the tones correct.
You say you worked on the white balance quite a bit. The white balance in post or the white balance in creation?
The white balance in creation. I think,
Okay.
Post, again, I mean, as I said, the only thing is a little bit of cropping and a little bit of, cleanup as far as the thumbprint. The rest of it, no, I mean, I try and get everything as much as possible, particularly for product and studio shots. Get it correct to the way it should be while I'm shooting. I do believe that the colors need to be right, so I tend to use, color checkers to make sure that I have the right color, the right white balance, etc. So yes, I mean that to me is important, because I want to spend my time photographing. I don't want to spend my time sitting behind a computer.
The other thing I wanted to ask about is the geometry. Everything is so perfect. So you've got this rectangular glass subject and perfect vertical columns. And it seems like everything is just perfect. And then we can see from behind the scenes images that the camera was fairly close. So did that take a little bit of tinkering and moving the camera to get everything just right?
Yeah, for most of my studio work, I use a Manfrotto studio stand. It's a 7-foot studio stand, and then I have a Platypod as my ball head, which makes it very convenient to do any kind of adjustments, both panning, tilting, etc. And that's my primary setup. And then if you have everything lined up correct, and if you're sort of using a stand which you can very quickly move up and down and get it perfectly aligned with the product that you're shooting, then you don't have to do perspective correction. And no pun intended, we are on a perspective show, but this is the one time that I don't do perspective correction.
Okay, well, that makes perfect sense, Shiv. It is such a pleasure to talk to you anytime, but also to see how you did this image and talk to you a little bit about that and walk through it with you. I think it would be I don't know that I would have the patience to just do the precision for an entire hour to set something like that up. So it's helpful to see that coming from you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I've learned with some of the other products that I was shooting commercially, where certain setups took 8-9 hours to do, but this was an easy one comparatively.
Wow, that's commitment, but it definitely paid off in this final image. Well, Shiv, thank you so much. Is there any place that people can go to connect with you to find out more about the work that you do? Any YouTube channel or website or anything?
Well, everything that I do can be found via my website. So it's www.shivverma.com. Links to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram are all there. I'm not much of an Instagrammer, but YouTube and Facebook are both linked there. And my workshops and all of the other photo tours and things that kind of diminished a little bit now, but they're all there on the website.
Very good. Thank you so much, Shiv. I really do appreciate
Thank you, Larry.
it. Yeah, glad to have you on here. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Platypod Perspectives, where each time we talk with an amazing photographer and figure out a little bit about these incredible images that they've created. And I sure hope you've learned something today. If this kind of thing is interesting to you, make sure that you like and subscribe, and don't be afraid to make comments down below as well. We love when you guys comment, and we will reply to those comments when we see them. Thanks again for this episode of Perspectives. You never know what you'll learn next time out.